Money makes you happier, at least up to $75,000 per year. This is what Nobel laureate and genius of our generation Danny Kahneman found in his famous study. But Danny later developed a more elaborate method to study happiness, and with that, he found that income increased happiness up to the highest income bracket he studied, which was $500,000 per year. This study wasn't as publicized, probably because it's depressing. But what's even lesser known is that Danny studied a lot of things and how they affect happiness, not just wealth. For example, being a smoker is associated with a reduction in happiness as big as the gain in happiness you get from being high income. Being alone negates the happiness boost you get from wealth 7 times over. And religious people enjoy 16% more happiness, likely due to the community and social factors. And some things you wouldn't even think about, like noise pollution from trains or roads or airports, greatly reduce happiness and also may cause heart disease from the constant stress response that you would endure. So, a very rich person who spends most of their time alone could be a lot less happy than a poor person with a tight family and community. So, it's good to know that unobtainable levels of wealth aren't the biggest factor in our happiness. But does knowing this work by Danny Kahneman and others really help anyone be happy at all? As an example, we can look at Danny Kahneman himself, who was a notoriously grumpy and worrisome person, and was famous for breaking up his lifelong friendship with his friend Amos Tversky, who was getting too much credit for their joint projects. And when moving from Berkeley to Princeton, Danny's wife commented that people were happier in California due to the nice climate. But instead of consoling his wife on the loss of her home and life in California, Danny Kahneman instead secured research funding and published a paper showing that people were not, in fact, happier in California. This is truly the work of an unhappy savage, and I'm sure that his wife was cool with it, but this really isn't a person who is prioritizing relationships to maximize happiness, even though he's the one that published the research himself. And likewise for me, I spend most of my time at home working on projects by myself by choice, even though I know that this is affecting my happiness and well being. It's just the way that I am. But even so, we can use this research to modify the smaller things in our life to just ink out that last bit of happiness. For example, when I moved from California for medical school, I specifically chose a building with cement walls and soundproof double glazed windows to prevent noise pollution, so that wouldn't have an influence on my happiness. So, in small ways, we can still use this research to inform our lives a little bit. I'm Aviva Carter, MD PhD candidate. Subscribe if you have a body.